This article from Lenny Rachitsky from Lenny's newsletter. This was something that got shared about internally at Animals amongst people that I know, uh, because it is a great example of thought leadership in an area that we care deeply about: content marketing and the relationship between content and business growth. And there's a lot in this fairly monstrous article that is very, very good and worth learning from. So I like right from the get go, the entire premise of this article is predicated on Lenny answering somebody else's question. Because every time you answer a question, there is this explicit framing of you being somebody that is smart enough and expert enough to be able to answer those questions. There's this kind of power dynamic being exhibited right from the get go where Lenny is saying, I am the expert, I am the person that you come to for questions on this subject matter. So that's really good. I love front loading it, and actually just answering people's questions can be a really, really great strategy for developing your own thought leadership because you are inherently showing your expertise with it. So that's super, super cool. But then beyond that, he doesn't just answer the question. He could basically just list the startups that are best at content driven growth, as he does here. And he could have left it there, and that would have fulfilled the premise of the question. But he goes further than that. And he does what all good thought leadership should do, and it tries to explore the bigger, overarching framework that exists above the individual examples, use cases, problem that you're solving. So not only is he listing out the startups, he's exploring the reasons why, the universal framework. And that's fantastic because you are empowering the reader, not just to solve the problem they have immediately in front of them, which is listing these startups, but you're giving them a toolkit to go away and solve other similar problems. They can find other companies that will fit into this matrix. They can identify the characteristics that set these companies apart. That is great. All thought leadership should aspire to do that. And he does it in a very, very classic way of using a beautiful 2x2 framework. And this is not only like a really great visual representation of ideas, it's a really, really great thinking tool. And this is something I've been encouraged to do, and I still find quite hard, by Andrew and Walter, my colleagues at Animals. Uh, I think they probably think in terms of 2x2s. It's a great way to simplify complex situations in your own mind. And if you can do that, it also creates a wonderful visual for communicating your idea and helping other people understand whatever you're talking about. And last thing that I really like, the interview section here, which I'll obviously link to, he's basically flexing his network. He has this section here which says, where was it? Where was it? Yeah, I reached out to the founders and heads of content at each of these companies. They all agreed. Again, there's a big flex implicit in that. I know these people, they were willing to talk to me. Nobody said no. I'm very powerful and famous and amazing, and you should listen to my ideas as a result. So that is very clever. It's a great way of using your network to build up your own personal worth, your own reputation, your own thought leadership. And there's not a lot in here that I dislike, but a couple of things that potentially I would think about changing. It's good that he's got a coined concept here, but it's maybe slightly generic. There are lots of, product-led, content-led growth frameworks around. This one doesn't feel hugely distinct from other ones. Um, yeah, there might be opportunities to make that a little bit interesting, a little bit more spicy. Not terrible, but could be slightly improved. And the other thing really is it is just immensely long. Like, I really enjoyed this, and I've definitely not read every word. I probably never will read every word. I think the thing that is missing in the interview section, it is a good flex, but it needs more synthesis to be useful. He could interview these people, and then he could say, well, as a result of these conversations, here are the bigger, broader lessons I took away from this. Here are the common and recurring themes from amongst those conversations. He basically has to do a bit more of the hard work of synthesizing the laborious interviewing he did and making it accessible to us, the reader. This is maybe a little bit sloppy and not quite as compelling as it could be. But apart from that, yep, great article, good example of thought leadership from somebody that has used it very powerfully to build his own network, his own personal brand, and even his own business as well.